We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the top stories making headlines this evening. Gauteng police are investigating a case of culpable homicide following a collision involving a scholar transport and a truck that claimed the lives of 13 learners in Vanderbijl Park in the Vaal this morning.
The response has been quite effective. Obviously, we need to do more to deal with disasters that continue to befall us.
President Ramaphosa is calling on government to do more to prevent natural disasters after the Nkomazi municipality of Mpumalanga was struck by torrential rain.
There's also the possibility that the EU could impose tariffs on the US to the tune of roughly $107 billion.
And the European Union is considering imposing tariffs on the US with more than $100 billion in relation to President Trump's threats over Greenland. Good evening and a warm welcome. This is Prime News on 3 and I am Palat. Now, great to be in your company this Monday evening. A number of stories we've been tracking throughout the day for you that's happening in and around your world. With that said, we begin with this tonight. Gauteng police are investigating a case of culpable homicide following a collision involving a scholar transport vehicle and a truck that claimed the lives of 13 learners in Vanderbijl Park in the Vaal this morning. 4 others, including the driver of the minibus taxi, were taken to hospital. The SABC spoke to some of the parents whose children were killed in the accident.
Puleng is my last born, and she was in El Shaddai High School doing grade 11. She was a lovely person, and yesterday we went together to church and everybody was happy inside the churchyard, and we came back nicely. He's someone who likes singing in the church. He loves the church very much, more than me. So I was devastated this morning when I heard that the vehicle they were traveling with is involved in an accident of its own. If I can determine what I saw on the scene of crime, I didn't see accident, I saw murder. Because the vehicle they were traveling with, you can't even recognize.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has also expressed sadness at the accident. In a statement this morning, Ramaphosa said it was distressing that the incident took place at a time when Chapter 9 body, the South African Human Rights Commission, has published a report on scholar transport.
The President finds it particularly distressing that this incident has taken place on the day the South African Human Rights Commission has published a report on scholar transport in the Northwest. The President's thoughts are with the families, teachers, classmates, and friends of the young victims.
Meanwhile, the South African Human Rights Commission's report in question has found persistent and systematic failure in the delivery of the scholar transport program in the Northwest Province. The Commission has released its investigative report in Rustenburg after probing scholar transport challenges in the province last year.
The release of the scathing report follows an investigative inquiry conducted by the Chapter 9 institution between March and May last year. The South African Human Rights Commission says scholar transport in the province is characterized by serious safety and operational failures, including unroadworthy and unsafe vehicles, chronic overloading of vehicles, and frequent mechanical breakdown. It says these failures are directly attributable to the Departments of Transport Management and Education, which are the custodians of the scholar transport program in the province.
As a direct consequence, affected learners are compelled to 1. Walk long and often unsafe distance to and from school, exposing them to risks such as crime, road accidents, fatigue, and adverse weather conditions.
Kwinana adds that This has led to violations of learners' constitutional rights to basic education, equality and human dignity, as well as safety and security. The Commission has directed the Transport Management and Education Departments to submit a progress report within 60 days containing measures taken to address the identified challenges. The Commission has also directed both departments to review the provincial learner transport policy and the guidelines and protocol to address the policy gaps highlighted in its report within 180 days. Thabiso Moss, SABC News, Rustenburg.
In other news, President Cyril Ramaphosa visited the Nkomazi municipality of Mpumalanga to assess the damage caused by the recent heavy rains. It is estimated that the rains damaged over 1,300 houses in the province. The Mpumalanga government says it will need at least 2 billion rand to repair damaged infrastructure. This as the government declared a national disaster after widespread flooding in various parts of the country.
Are destroyed, children cannot go to school, and houses have been washed away, and valuable infrastructure has been damaged. So that is precisely what we're going to be looking at closely. Our Minister of Finance is in Davos, but we're also briefing him, and we are going to see what interventions government is able to make. But we're also grateful that our rescue and quick response agencies have been really up to the task. They have responded extremely well. The South African National Defence Force, as well as the emergency services here in the province, here at local government level.
Meanwhile, teaching and learning has been disrupted at Zelinye Primary School in Umkhanyakude in northern KwaZulu-Natal. The school is situated in a flood-stricken area with a number of houses completely damaged due to the recent persistent rain accompanied by strong winds.
Of the deep rural and secluded village of Pelandaba under Umkhanyakude in northern KwaZulu-Natal are still trying to come to terms with the damage from the floods. On Friday, about 40 residents from Ward 16 fled their homes in haste to seek shelter at this school. By Monday, the number had increased to over 100 residents. Many homes remain inaccessible due to flooding.
We don't know how we are going to survive. We rely on farming as the community. These floods have destroyed even our crops. Even right now, a number of roads are damaged. Some learners will not be able to go to school because of this. We desperately need help.
Local authorities say the situation requires urgent intervention.
From the department, I will just request them to come closer, especially to Ward 16, because Ward 16 is a ward where we see water getting straight into houses, not just into premises. So the houses are destroyed.
Provincial authorities say disaster teams continue to monitor flood-affected areas as more rain is predicted in the northern parts of the province. Simpiwe Makanya, SABC News, Umkhanyakude.
Forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan's name again dominated proceedings of Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of criminal infiltration, political interference and corruption within the criminal justice system. Let's tell you more after the break. Welcome back. Forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan's name again dominated proceedings of Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of criminal infiltration, political interference and corruption within the criminal justice system. With multiple witnesses having mentioned him during their testimonies, MPs across party lines have now agreed that O'Sullivan must appear in person before the committee despite his concerns about his safety and his continued absence from the country.
The ANC accused O'Sullivan of undermining Parliament, insisting that his physical appearance is non-negotiable.
We are believe that as the African National Congress, we should allow a private citizen to undermine the Parliament of the Republic to that extent.
The same sentiment was also echoed by the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, which argued the committee needs to move swiftly and exhaust all legal avenues.
We must see to bring him physically to the committee. We can't be found wanting. The legal team must assist us with all the available legal mechanisms that can be used.
He's come. So I think his testimony is going to be impactful on the actual our final report.
While MPs agreed in principle to compel O'Sullivan's appearance, the DA cautioned against ignoring serious security concerns.
And I don't object to it, and I don't wish to say anything about it. All I'm saying, we need to be a little bit careful. If we force him to come and he does get assassinated, we will have to deal with that fallout.
The committee is also expected to hear the testimony of former IPID head Robert McBride on Tuesday. O'Sullivan is currently out of the country, with indications that he may not return before the committee concludes its work. Mkokile Bandla, SABC News, Parliament.
The Umkhonto weSizwe Party has outrightly rejected accusations made by former President Thabo Mbeki this weekend, in which he likened the formation and support base of the party to counter-revolutionary forces with roots in apartheid-era infiltration. Mbeki made his remarks while speaking at an MK Liberation Veterans event in the Free State, where he reflected on historic intelligence operations and suggested that echoes of those tactics continue to shape current political dynamics.
Former President Mbeki characterized the rise of the MK party, a breakaway movement led by former President Jacob Zuma, as part of what he described as a counter-revolutionary effort, drawing links between current political support and historical apartheid-era infiltration of communities and political structures. The MKP was swift to respond, saying Mbeki's assertions undermine democratic choice and voter agency.
This is not just a criticism, it's an attack. It's criminalizing the voters of Umkhonto weSizwe and suggesting that they are not genuine in supporting MK or the outcomes of that elections had a criminal intent. And we reject that.
Political analyst Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast offered perspective on the accusation that Zuma was an agent working against the ANC's interests.
In that the person was a spy, you will have to provide proof or evidence to cement that conclusion. But it's a very, very, very malicious claim, though I must say that given the fact that former President Zuma and former President Mbeki have worked together.
Zara Groenewald, SABC News, Johannesburg.
ActionSA's Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate and councillor Xolani Khumalo has been granted a 2,000 rand bail. Khumalo appeared at the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court on charges of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and pointing a firearm. The case has been postponed, with Khumalo expected to return to court in February.
The issue in question relates to a raid that was conducted by the police with Xolani present in 2025 of the premises of a suspected drug dealer. At this raid, illegal unlicensed ammunition was found. The individual was arrested, but as the story goes that South Africans know all too well, the drug dealer was then released without being processed or charged and even given the illegal ammunition back. Xolani did appear in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court this afternoon, a few minutes ago, and has been released on bail. And I'm very pleased to say that he will be in the communities of Ekurhuleni tomorrow morning, campaigning on service delivery and safety in the way that he should be doing.
When we return, it was a dramatic end to the AFCON tournament last night as the Lions of Taranga were crowned champions. Details and more after the break. Thank you for staying with us. Let's shift our focus to this now. The European Union is considering imposing tariffs on the US worth more than $100 billion in relation to President Trump's threats over Greenland. Washington says it will impose duties of 10% on 8 European nations from next month unless it's given control of the semi-autonomous Danish territory. Meanwhile, Danish and Greenlandish officials are at NATO headquarters meeting with the head of the military alliance to discuss the ongoing crisis.
For the European Union, frantic efforts also underway as they're reeling from this announcement over the weekend from the US president that he is planning to slap tariffs on 8 European powers unless this semi-autonomous Danish territory of Greenland is handed over to the United States. When it comes to the tools at their disposal, well, we know from several European political parties they're planning to not ratify the US-EU trade pact that was brokered last year. There's also the possibility that the EU could impose tariffs on the US to the tune of roughly $107 billion. There is also the potential of the EU going even further, using its so-called trade bazooka. Now, this anti-coercion instrument, never before used by the EU, would give it even further economic powers, things like imposing export controls if they want to go that route, but it would, of course, further irk the Trump administration. We've heard from the European Commission and a spokesperson saying that while they didn't start this escalation, they're seeking to be firm but also calm, seeking other peaceful resolutions to this growing crisis without going down the avenue of escalating trade tensions between these hugely important economic and geopolitical allies from across each side of the Atlantic. William Denslow, SABC News, Brussels.
And now here's the latest market update as recorded at 7:30 this evening. Well, with that, let's now see what the weather has in store for us tonight and tomorrow. We hand over to the weather desk for the latest. Do stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome. Let's take a look at your weather conditions for this evening as well as tomorrow. Clear skies over the western and southwestern parts of the country. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies over the central and northeastern parts with isolated to scattered showers and thunder showers, mainly widespread over the northern as well as the eastern parts of Limpopo. Now tomorrow, starting off with early morning fog patches along the escarpment of KwaZulu-Natal into the eastern Free State. Otherwise, clear skies expected over much of the northern Cape and the northern parts of the Western Cape. It will be partly cloudy over the southern, central and eastern parts of the country with isolated to scattered showers and thunder showers in places over the central and eastern parts, and then isolated showers and rain along the southern coastline and the adjacent interior. For this evening, South African Weather Service warning of damaging coastal winds along the west coast. Severe thunderstorms possible over the western parts of Limpopo, becoming disruptive rainfall over the northern and eastern parts of Limpopo into the eastern part of Mpumalanga. That warning tomorrow still remaining of disruptive rainfall. Severe thunderstorms now over the northwest and in places over the Free State. High fire danger conditions in places over the western part of the country and windy conditions along the southwestern coastline. Overnight temperatures seeing Dar down to 13. Kimberley a minimum of 17 tomorrow, expecting to peak at 33. It will be extremely hot in Vredendal with 39. Upington peaking at 37. A cool day in George with 23. Port St. John's warm with a maximum of 25. That's your weather. Good night.
We end it here for tonight. Much gratitude for joining us. Until next time, have yourselves a good night. Pula.